In the last podcast, you learned about the survival mechanism that governs our lives. Often, we are unaware of its existence and its working. The podcast also explained that this mechanism has a specific structure, which lays the foundation for the rest of the child's development. As children, we have no say in how this structure forms. You heard that there are 3 survival mechanisms in human beings, and each one has a unique way of keeping our bodies alive. Our birth chaos compels our mechanism to have distinctly diverse co-birth beliefs, which lay the foundation for the rest of the human psychological structure to form. On this foundation, the core of human identity is formed. Today, let's examine one of this main component, and the topic for today's episode is survival mechanism and its co-birth beliefs. All living beings share a common objective, which is to survive. For humans, it is achieved through survival mechanism that works towards ensuring our continued existence. While most animals rely on their parents for safety and security for a certain period, this dependency lasts much longer for humans, making them reliant on their creators for an extended duration. Each goal is encapsulated with its purpose, and every child is also a goal with its own purpose. If they do not survive, their purpose cannot be fulfilled. They must survive in order to achieve the outcome for which they were created. You may want to refer to my previous podcast on the topic, Your Purpose is Predefined. The foundational belief associated with a survival mechanism is that I have to survive. It is only that an individual has survived that they can embark on life's journey. However, this belief also carries a sense of compulsion or trap, as a failure to survive can result in death and non-completion of the purpose. Every newborn faces a catch-22 situation, and the survival mechanism is to protect the child in order to meet the demands of the creators. If not, their survival is in jeopardy. Based on this core belief, other beliefs are formed. To begin, let's understand what beliefs are. Beliefs refers to being certain that something is true or exists, or an idea that you hold to be true. For instance, some of the beliefs you may have: I can walk, I can drive a car, I can speak, write, and read in English, I am a teacher, I am a doctor, etc. These beliefs are based on your past experiences and gives you a sense of conviction. In the previous episode titled Decisions, Who Makes Them For You, an example was given of a person choosing to consume boiled and bottled mineral water due to their belief that the water is contaminated with harmful germs and bacteria. Hence, take necessary measures to protect their health. Such beliefs can stem from the past experiences or be shaped by information they have gathered. There are various types of beliefs, and I am not going into those details. I want to focus on the one that relates to our survival. When it comes to our co-birth survival beliefs, they are transferred by our parents through their emotions. That happens even before we are born. Basically, we are not created just to live our lives, but to fulfill their preconceived outcome. Therefore, our liberation begins on the fulfillment of their expectation, and it is up to them to set us free. Even if they do so, our minds and thinking are so entangled with the survival mechanism's web that it is simply impossible to free our being from its grip. The most important belief is, I have to survive. A cluster of other beliefs support this core belief, looped and locked into each other like a chain with no beginning or end. This collection of beliefs are an inseparable and impenetrable mask. They are working like a formidable team, supporting each other to safeguard our survival and achieve the defined purpose. It is difficult to break their bond. What is worse and unfortunate is that we are often unaware of their existence and their functioning. Our core survival belief provides a direction to our unconscious mind to follow. Based on them, other human structures of the child develop, such as communication, behaviors, habits, and even thinking processes. In the previous podcast, you learned about the three distinct survival mechanisms. Each comes with its unique set of beliefs related to the survival. While their main goal is to protect us, there are additional beliefs that reinforces this objective. Let's examine the beliefs of these three different survival mechanisms individually. Core beliefs of a wanted child. Whenever you purchase a product, you already have certain expectations and anticipate what it should be capable of achieving. You expect it to fulfill its intended purpose and meet the specified requirements, which will result in your satisfaction and happiness. However, if the product fails to deliver the promised outcome, it can lead to disappointment and other negative emotions. As a buyer, you look forward to the product proving their worth and meeting your expectation. When parents decide to have a child, they often have a specific expectations of what they want the child to be like. As we discussed in the earlier podcast, the child is already unconsciously given the task of meeting certain outcomes that the parents want to be fulfilled. This means the child has to deliver on this expectation and prove their worth. One of the foundational beliefs of the wanted child is, I have to live up to the parents' expectation. As long as I do that, my survival is assured. Based on this core belief, other beliefs are formed connected to the child's survival. The intensity of the degree of expectation and its fulfillment could vary depending on the parents and their background. If you intend to invest in a high-quality mobile phone, you expect high-quality results. However, if your aim is to buy a mid-range or low-quality mobile phone, your expectation changes significantly. You want specific demands to be met according to your requirements and budget. Therefore, your aspirations are limited by your financial constraint. If you are a plain child born into an influential, high-flying, and reputed family, a lot of investment would have been made in you, which means high-level demands are placed upon you. You would have to prove yourself worthy by fulfilling and living up to those benchmarks. However, if you are born into a higher middle-class family, the expectation might be lower. Similarly, if you are born into a low middle-class family, it varies further depending on the parent's outcome. If you are born into a poor family, then the equation will vary drastically, even though you are a wanted child. For the wanted child, there are preset benchmarks placed on them, and they are supposed to fulfill them. All of it is happening unconsciously beyond their awareness. This brings up another core belief directly connected to their survival. I have to prove that I am worthy. The child believes that they must show that they are valuable to their parents to ensure their survival. If they fail to do so, they fear that something else will happen that will endanger their survival. On these premises, the rest of the structure gets built. Here are some of the beliefs the wanted child develops as they grow into adulthood. I am wanted, thus, I have to be perfect in every possible way. I have to meet my parents' expectations. I have to prove that I am worthy. I have to live up to their image. I have to meet their benchmarks. The survival of the wanted child relies on meeting others' expectation, which determines their worthiness. Failing to meet the set standard implies that they are not good enough. Consequently, they will strive harder to reach the expected level. If they are unable to achieve the desired outcome, they may avoid future attempts and social interaction. Possibly, they might end up being depressed, not knowing how to cope with the situation. The beliefs that the wanted child has about the survival greatly influence their behaviors and action. These beliefs are often beyond their awareness and shape their identity. In the previous podcast, we discussed the story of Amit, who goes to great length to meet his mother's expectation as a wanted child. This is an unconscious trade-off for his survival. To gain in-depth insight into the wanted child's survival traits, kindly refer to Chapter 17 of the book, Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom. Co-birth beliefs of a partly wanted child. In the previous episode, I gave an analogy of a couple wanting to buy a car. The husband wants a decent car within their budget, but the wife wants a high-end car. If they buy a budget vehicle, then the wife is unhappy. If they buy a high-end car, the husband is unhappy. Similarly, when the child is born, out of their confusion, it sends out a message to the fetus that one parent wants them and the other doesn't. It's like the parent communicating, "I never wanted you, and now that you are born, I have to take care of you." This emotional message communicates a sense of rejection to the newborn. As you have heard in the previous episode, a partly wanted child is rejected by one of the parents. This also means one of the parents is not there to support and hold their hand while they grow up. Without parental support, a child feels helpless and vulnerable. As a result, the child may develop the core belief that they must do whatever it takes to survive, including trying to please the rejecting parent and avoiding behaviors that might disappoint them. This belief provides a temporary sense of security and survival of the child. It can also lead to a range of emotional and psychological challenges in the long run. Suppose one of the parents wanted a boy and a girl was born. Then, what is the message delivered to the newborn? The parent is unhappy and disappointed with what has been delivered and communicates an emotional message, "I never wanted you, and now I have to raise you." Along with the core survival beliefs that I have to survive, here are some of the beliefs the partly wanted children develop as they grow up into adulthood. I am partly rejected, thus I have to be obedient. I have to be a good boy, good girl, so that others accept me. I should do things to please others. I should not disappoint others. I have to be generous and helpful to others. These core birth beliefs shape various aspects of their life, including behaviors, communication style, habits, and thinking processes. These factors work together to give them direction, an identity of who they are and how they should be living their lives in the future so that they survive. To gain in-depth insight into the partly wanted child's survival traits, kindly refer to Chapter 18 of the book, Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom. Co-birth beliefs of an unwanted child. Before proceeding further, it is important to note that children who are labeled as unwanted are not truly unwanted. It was often their parents' limitation that conveyed a message of rejection to them. These children have a meaningful role to play on this planet, but their survival mechanism may be displeasing and not acceptable by society. They are unaware of their own survival mechanism. The intensity of rejection decides the severity of the survival traits as the child grows into adulthood. Some of them will be labeled as narcissistic, gaslighters, pathological liars, etc. The unwanted child will resist meeting the expectations of their parents and are highly stubborn and poor at keeping commitments. They are unaware of their survival mechanism and its traits, but their characteristics seems normal to them. One of my clients, Sophie, came to me for therapy because she was having a relationship issue with her husband. During the therapy session, she was surprised to discover her survival mechanism and her survival traits. She was the only child, but her survival traits indicated that she was an unwanted child. She wanted to confirm whether she was truly an unwanted child, so she decided to verify facts with her mother about it. This is what her mother told her. Her mother had had a love marriage against her parents' wishes. After marriage, she had to live in a joint family. She was working and also supporting the family, including the in-laws. Her husband had lost his job. The in-laws would dominate her. Her husband would not side with her even when she was not at fault, but supported his parents and others. Going through her hurdles, she never wanted to conceive and increase her burden. But to her misfortune, she got pregnant. She could not terminate the pregnancy because there was pressure from the husband and her in-laws. After Sophie was born, her mother showered all love and goodies, but the emotional message was communicated to the fetus in the womb that she did not want to have her. From the very conception, the unwanted child is rejected, and that message is deeply ingrained in their psyche. They are not aware of it and its functioning. The core belief imbibed into them is, I got to survive somehow. Along with the core survival belief that I have to survive, here are some of the beliefs the unwanted child develops as they grow up into adulthood. I am rejected and unwanted, thus I have to avoid rejection at any cost. Nobody wants me. I am on my own and alone. I have to survive somehow, fair or unfair, hook or crook. I am abandoned and I have to fend for my survival. I have to make my way somehow. The core beliefs surrounding their birth gives rise to their primary identity, upon which all other structures of their lives are built unconsciously. It is practically impossible to escape from the survival mechanism and its traps. To gain in-depth insight into the unwanted child survival traits, kindly refer to Chapter 19 of the book, Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom. In today's episode, you may have identified or partly identified your core beliefs and the survival categories you fall under. In the upcoming episode, you will learn about the influence of our core survival beliefs on our behaviors, communication, and thought patterns. We will go deeper into each of these categories, and you will possibly fall under one of the survival mechanisms, which you will be able to discover. To listen to more podcasts and to watch YouTube videos, please feel free to visit my website at www.livingwithfreedom.com. I also have 2 books available for purchase on various platforms: Stop Surviving, Start Living with Freedom, and The Self-Decoded. The better you know who you are and the working of your internal mechanism, the more likely you will experience joy and peace. In the upcoming podcast, you will have an opportunity to learn something new and unique. In the meantime, I encourage you to look for opportunities to express gratitude for everything around you. See you next week.